For our Milky Way races, they really are the cornerstone of Mass Effect. The Mass Effect design that we know it, as the fans know it, as we know it, they will retain, that sexy, sleek appeal that Mass Effect had. With the newer races, we wanted to approach them from a bit more of an organic perspective. So Mass Effect's clean, sleek, hard surfaces, well-designed industrial design. These newer races would have slightly more organic armor, more organic shape play, more organic materials that they would use to construct not only their armors, but also their structures and their architecture. It applies across anything you see in Andromeda. The start or the genesis of something like the Kett starts with their narrative. As I start walking through the concepts and the character, you'll start to see hints of what that narrative might be. We want to start with the faces because that's what we need to draw the player in. We had a general theme in mind with these guys where we wanted to go with a bone carapace around his face that would hopefully translate into his armor as well. One of the things we tried to figure out with these guys being the antagonist is how alien are these guys, right? We're used to seeing, our Milky Way species all kitted up in armor and essentially functioning like people would. Taking the opportunity to go out to Andromeda, do we want that same kind of relationship to our new aliens? We took a perspective of maybe these guys are so alien that we don't understand what they're doing visually. Like, do they even wear clothes? Are they more carnal than their previous aliens? Or are they more enlightened? Clothing's a vanity thing, and maybe that's not something that was a part of their culture. In the initial sketches, we actually pushed that forward for quite a ways. So we definitely had to put clothing on these guys. We needed to dress them up because as much as we wanted to make them look new or different or alien, you're always going to want to associate to them in some way. There's a really odd disconnect with trying to associate with an alien that is completely naked in front of you. You're standing there, hey, I'm in clothes, why aren't you wearing clothes? So it was definitely the right choice to clothe these guys. With the whole Kett race, we wanted it to be foreboding, but never to the point of being ugly. And you still want to be able to empathize with these guys, because depending on how, we have a lot of side stories, we have a lot of stories we want to tell with this alien race. So despite how foreboding or scary they are, or antagonistic, you still want to be able to have opportunities to show them in an empathizing or an empathetic way. So yeah, again, playing up the eyes was really important on some of our main Kett characters. And then obviously there's a certain militaristic element to these guys, so having some form of armor was important, and that's why we went with the bone armor. Felt new, it felt different, and it was something that we could play up with different types of variations. So as you can see in some of these spreads, like the white is meant to be representative of what that bone material would be. And so we found a lot of interesting opportunities within that design to use that material. For the grunt or the soldier, the most important part is that they read well in silhouette. And so what we would do is a lineup of these characters all placed one against another and see which silhouettes really kind of read the best and felt characteristic to what their write-up would be. We do have limitations in terms of our rigs and what we can get away with. We share some rigs and that kind of thing. We want to pick a silhouette or a character that will function believably and properly on those rigs. So once that's done, we'll go in and start building out the additional designs and the additional details within that silhouette. Usually the concept artist will give a spread of anywhere from 6 to 8 variations on that. We essentially chisel down the designs or the elements that we like the most until we get something that looks fairly representative of what we would like to see in game. So we came across this guy. He was perfect. He had all the cool bone elements that we wanted. He had a nice kind of skin surfacing. He felt aggressive. At this point on this character, we decided that we wanted him to have a little bit less humanity or soul in him. So we pulled back on his eyes being the anchor for that. So we kind of washed them out or made them a little bit milky, and then started to work with game design on what we wanted or what they might want to incorporate in terms of any sort of destructible pieces or anything like that. We pass that across the team. We get a little bit of feedback from the team, and we figure out if there's any last minute notes or iterations that need to go into it. So one thing that we decided to do is to play up the tonal contrast between the bone and the skin itself. And so we did one more pass, and then following that is when we started to apply the armor onto these guys. And in doing that, it actually presented a really good opportunity for another kind of iconic element on this character, which we translated across that race. And he's got that big kind of collar piece that winds around the back of his head. All of the creatures that you might see in the Kett have a very similar feature to that. It's something that we played on as a consistent motif or a consistent element across that lineup. But yeah, we ended up on this guy. It's nice. He feels covered. He feels functional. He feels like he fits the narrative and the tone of the game, and he animates really well in that rig. I think the Kett is going to be one of the standout races in general. Their architecture, their race, their movement, everything. I think that's going to be an impressive addition to the franchise. It's definitely the one I'm the most proud of.